prove that the nature of snakes is inherently lustful and difficult to be loyal. My sister and I were offered as sacrifices to two snake gods by our family. She first chose a black snake with a stunning appearance, while I chose a sickly white snake. The black snake is naturally promiscuous. It only used my sister as a tool to vent. As for the white snake, I chose it was weak and limited in ability, so it was loyal only to me. Later, through merit, it successfully ascended to the celestial realm and became a true god. After becoming a god, the white snake still treated me the same. Gentle, considerate, and unwavering in love. But my sister became insanely jealous. She jumped off the cliff with me. When we opened our eyes again, we found ourselves back on the day of the sacrifice. This time my sister couldn't wait and first chose the white snake. Her gaze at me was full of provocation, but I breathed a sigh of relief, thankful that I had finally escaped the white snake's claws. The Chin family village had a century of peace, thanks to the protection of the two snake gods on the mountain. Snakes are naturally promiscuous. They favor young girls in bloom. Every 10 years, the village selects 2 young girls of appropriate age to sacrifice to the snake gods in gratitude for their protection. This year it was my sister and me. In the snake god temple, my sister hugged me in fear. She curled up in my arms and whispered, "Sister, are we being sacrificed? Does this mean we will never return? Like auntie?" She cried, sobbing, burying her head in my chest. I stared at the 2 tall snake statues in front of me. Shivers ran down my spine. A chill surged from my feet to the top of my head. I said nothing, just gently patting my sister's back. I don't know how long passed. The 2 statues were surrounded by black and white auras. The next moment, before my sister and I, 2 creatures with human heads and snake bodies appeared. The black snake flicked its crimson tongue and spoke first. "You 2 choose one." My sister and I exchanged glances. In her eyes I saw the admiration of a young girl. "Sister, I like the black one," she begged me, holding my hand. Shaking my hand pitifully, the earlier fear was completely gone. Reluctantly I chose the sickly one. He seemed to be ill. Compared to the black snake's strong, handsome look, it seemed more feminine. We followed them back to the back mountain. We were stunned by what we saw. Countless little black snakes, divided into 2 parts. They crawled all over the path beneath us. The black snake said, "This is our snake clan's welcoming ceremony. Every lady must go through this." As soon as he finished speaking, the countless little snakes quickly surged towards my sister. My sister stepped back in fear, and was stopped by the black snake behind her. My sister looked at the little snakes in terror. They scrambled up her body one after another. It's well known that snakes love to burrow. A cold chill swept over me. The black snake happily praised my exhausted sister. "You really are quite wild. Once she's done, it's my turn." The ideas I grew up with told me, this is outright humiliation. I clenched my fists. The white snake slowly walked to my side, gently holding my hand. He flicked his tongue at the white snakes. The snakes that were in chaos just moments ago instantly quieted down. They lowered their heads and slithered away. The white snake blew air back onto my hand, and my hand, once bloodied and torn, instantly returned to its delicate fair appearance. He looked at the black snake and said, "Brother, you're joking again. Your method of testing a lady's desires. How did it become our clan's welcoming ceremony?" The black snake didn't reply, only laughing roughly. The white snake said a few more things before pulling me away. Behind us, my sister lay in the black snake's arms, looking at me with envy and malice. But when I saw her again, she had been tortured beyond recognition. She grabbed my sleeve, crying, begging me to save her. It is said in the snake clan that the second young master's merit is complete. He became a true god, yet still loves me deeply. Whatever I want, he will satisfy me. That's why my sister placed her hopes on me. She sniffled, sobbing as she spoke. "Sister, the eldest son has no humanity at all. He only sees me as a tool. After using me, he threw me into the snake pool, letting the little snakes crawl all over my body. Sister, it hurts so much. Sister, please save me." I looked at my sister with pain in my heart. I placed my colorless hand on her head. If I said no right now, I might destroy the last of her hope. I nodded in agreement. After carefully planning my next move, I successfully killed the eldest son. The moment my sister regained her freedom, she suddenly rushed towards me, hugged me, and we jumped off a cliff together. The wind howled past as she shouted in my ear, "Why should you be the one to enjoy? I want you to die with me." My sister eagerly selected the snake, her eyes full of provocation as she looked at me. I breathed a sigh of relief, glad I finally escaped the snake's grasp. In the previous life, my sister only saw my glamorous side, not knowing the bloody scars behind it. I kept a calm expression, pretending I didn't know any of this. I calmly chose the black snake. My sister's eyes gleamed with schadenfreude. She leaned contentedly against the slippery body of the snake. Just like in the previous life, we followed them back to the back mountain. The path was covered with countless little snakes. They flicked their tongues, eyeing my sister and me. The black snake said, "This is our snake clan's welcoming ceremony. Every lady must go through this." Out of the corner of my eye, I looked at my sister. She had a triumphant smile on her face. Leaning against the white snake, her gaze seemed to say, "The suffering I endured in the previous life, this life sister will bear for me." I sneered. In the previous life, to save her, I was able to plan and kill the black snake. I already understood his intentions completely. If she thinks she can see me fail, she's wrong. I reached out and touched the black snake's body. It was smooth without the strong smell I had imagined. Instead, there was a faint scent of sandalwood. I could feel the black snake's body trembling. I knew I had touched the right spot. These little snakes had smooth skin. It looked as though they could glow. They were truly beautiful to look at. Deliberately praised the little snakes in front of him. As I expected, his face showed a hint of possessiveness. With a long arm, he pulled me away, leaving my sister looking stunned. Before leaving, I saw the black snake smirk maliciously. I instinctively looked away, afraid of meeting his gaze. The fear of being controlled by him in the past life returned to my mind, and my sister, at this moment, was immersed in the joy of becoming a true God's wife. I lightly curved my lips, unable to stop myself from smiling. My dear sister, both brothers, even the eldest, is like this. How good can the younger one be? I was brought back to the bedroom by the black snake. He coiled his glossy black body around me, and laid me down on the jade bed. The jade was so cold it made me shiver. His pupils narrowed. This was a sign of his strong desire. He stared at me, flicking his tongue. His moist breath brushed against my face, making me itch. "Aren't you afraid of me?" He swished his glossy black tail, gently brushing my face. I reached out and touched his glowing scales. I blinked and sincerely said, "Why should I be afraid? The snake gods have protected our clan for a century. It is only right to serve you, my lord." After my words, he could no longer resist his inner desire. He lunged towards me. As he took his pleasure, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, it is said that the nature of snakes is promiscuous and hard to be loyal. But among the snake clan's two gods, the eldest son is the most loyal in matters of love. It was actually just to fill the emptiness deep inside him, a feeling of inferiority. Although his body is strong and his appearance handsome, the girls sent to the mountain over the years were all afraid of his snake body. At the height of their affection, they will revert to their true form. Many girls were so frightened they passed away. That's why he had the little snakes crawl into his wives' little holes, to test their ability to handle pressure. Originally, my sister had already caught the eldest son's eye, but when they were in bed, my sister foolishly made a request. She asked him to change into a human form and be with her. Her words acted like a fuse. Only when he tortured her would the black snake be in a good mood. I made him fall for me, and then in bed I struck at his weak spot, delivering a fatal blow and rescuing my sister. The funny thing is, the sister I saved at the risk of my life wanted to die with me instead. I gave her hope to live, but it turned into jealousy. Her motive was to die with me. Looking back, she and the white snake make a good pair. One is ruthless with poison, the other a sadistic maniac. They are truly a match made in heaven. "Leave." After the sweat, the black snake ordered me to leave. I happily agreed. Although neither of them are good snakes, the black snake is certainly easier to handle, as long as I follow his lead and avoid his reverse scales. He would never turn into the pervert my sister is trapped in. The snake clan's power structure is simple. The eldest and second sons are both gods, each ruling all the black snakes. But the black snake acts with integrity and has no intentions of conquering. On the other hand, the white snake, though outwardly weak, has hidden malicious intent. He has always wanted to destroy the black snake, but his power was insufficient. And after I helped him become a true god, rather than the villagers' praise, he gave up that idea. Now the situation has changed. He no longer has the chance to become a god. He will focus solely on plotting to eliminate the black snake. But this life, my fate is tied to the black snakes. I won't allow him to act recklessly. It is the price he must pay for tormenting me in the past life. The next day, my sister somehow managed to come to the palace to visit me. According to the snake clan's custom, unless necessary, the wives of the two sons are not allowed to meet. "Sister, how is the eldest son treating you?" My sister looked at me with a worried expression. She furrowed her brows. "He treats me well. Yesterday he was still not satisfied." She laughed awkwardly. "Then you are truly lucky." "But I heard the eldest son has some special fetishes." My sister leaned closer and whispered, "The second son is gentle and considerate with me. He listens to everything I say. If the eldest son is mistreating you, you must tell me. I will help you." "Why are you so sure the eldest son treats me poorly?" She was speechless for a moment. Then her face showed a vicious expression. "Sister, stop pretending. We're both reborn. The eldest son is a pervert. In this life you will be tortured by him, but I will be cherished by the second son. In the future he will become a true god, and I will be the true god's wife." After saying this, she turned to leave, plotting how to deal with the second son. As she was thinking, the eldest son appeared at the door of my palace. His disheveled hair hung over his glossy scales. His strong body swiftly swam into the room. A displeased look appeared on his handsome face. "You met with the second son's wife?" He asked though. He had already assumed this was the case. Now he was here to question me. Sisterly affection is deep as the sea. It's normal for a sister to miss her sister. I simply explained a little. But he acted as if he went mad, rushing at me, choking me by the neck. I don't know how long passed. He threw me aside like a rag doll. I didn't even care about the pain of falling on the ground. I greedily gasped for fresh air. Eldest son, you misunderstand. Xianxin, since she married you, is your woman by birth, and your ghost by death. She has no other intentions. If the eldest son has any needs, Xianxin can also be a weapon to get rid of the second son. Black Snake's eyes immediately tightened. His gaze towards me changed. Interesting, weren't you just all about sisterly affection? How come now you're turning on each other, and want to kill your sister's husband? Interesting, truly interesting. He scanned me up and down, making me feel anxious inside. I said Xian knows the times. Right now I am on the same boat as the eldest son. So naturally I will help him. The Black Snake's eyes narrowed dangerously. His tail suddenly tightened. A person who can betray their own sister will definitely betray me too. Since that's the case, you can die now. I felt like my bones were about to be crushed. Eldest son, do you really not know that the second son wants to kill you? My voice suddenly raised. I stared at him intently. In the next second I felt the pressure on my body loosen a little. I knew he believed me. I boldly looked into his narrow pupils. Eldest son, didn't you notice the snake clan has been uneasy lately? The number of little black snakes is less than half of what it was. When my sister came to see me earlier, I smelled sulfur on her. The black snake extended his crimson tongue, licking my cheek. Thinking carefully, there must be a reason for this. Eldest son, if you believe me, you can send someone to investigate. My face was wet from his licking. The black snake seemed very pleased with his work. Later I found out he had known all along. But because of his inferiority complex, he never fought with the second son. Even if the second son wanted to replace him, he wouldn't resist. I must ignite his desire to fight the second son. If I can use his hand to eliminate the second son and my sister, and send him the opportunity from the last life, I will still be the true God's wife. As for my sister, she simply brought it upon herself. The eldest son loves to bathe in the dark river in the cave. In the previous life, the second son used it as a way to nourish his body. He asked for this place. Though he was reluctant, he still gave it up for the sake of brotherhood. This time I will never let such a thing happen again. I will never let this happen again. Eldest son, are you going to bathe? He stared ahead, giving me a cold side profile. If you want to join me, let's go together. With his consent, I eagerly followed him. The dark river water is cold and piercing. The snakes love it the most. Soon enough the second son arrived, claiming it was for body nourishment. I asked the eldest son for this hot spring. Snakes have territorial instincts. They cannot share the same place. I watched as the black snake clearly hesitated, but still seemed inclined to agree. So he reached out, locking his fingers with mine. She spoke to the second son. Second son, Shanshin's body is delicate too. After bathing she feels incredibly relaxed. I think it's due to the river water. Furthermore, second son, your body is weak. The water is freezing and sharp. If you use it, it could cause coldness to enter your body. It will only worsen your condition. The second son smiled softly without saying anything. Her pitiful appearance. Eldest son, sister, we both know the wonders of this spring water. Why don't we bathe together? My sister splashed some water and let it flow through her fingers. Her seductive lip-biting gesture was irresistible. I sneered inside. She's plotting to seduce the eldest son. Just because the second son isn't capable, she wants to seduce the eldest son. She feels empty every night, so she wants to seduce the eldest son. But the black snake didn't even look at her. He pulled me into his arms, covering my body with his tail, so they couldn't see. He spoke to the white snake. This water is icy and sharp for ordinary snakes. It is indeed very beneficial. But second brother, your body is weak. I'm afraid it will be harmful rather than helpful. Hearing him finally learn to say no, I felt genuinely happy. It showed that his inner insecurity had eased. The second young master smiled softly and urged his sister to hurry home. Thinking they hadn't gone far yet, I deliberately called out loudly, hoping she'd hear. It took a lot of effort, but I finally convinced the black snake to let me roam the back mountain freely. As for dealing with the white snake, he still had no interest. Late at night, I sneaked into my sister's chambers. But this time the target was my sister. She was tied tightly to a vertical wooden stake, her body wrapped in countless white snakes sucking her blood. Don't think I can't see through your little tricks, he said, his voice cold. Trying to seduce my brother and cast me aside, right? Dream on, he roared almost obsessively, a faint black mist rising from his white body. Didn't you say I become a true god? Then why did you betray me? You shameless woman. He despised betrayal above all else. Anyone who betrayed him met a horrible fate. Since you have divided loyalties, you'll make a perfect vessel for my medicine. You're unworthy of the position of my wife. I stared at the white snake's vicious face, memories from my past life flooding my mind. He had said my blood was sweet. So delicious he couldn't resist drinking it constantly. As his wife, I became his living blood vessel. Though his tone was gentle, I knew I had no room to refuse. Every time he drank my blood, 2 sharp fangs would slowly pierce my skin, like a death by 1,000 cuts. Thankfully it's all over now. Inside the room my sister pleaded, "You will become a true god. All you need to do is take my sister for yourself. She's the only one who can help you ascend." Lying there I was speechless. Now she regrets it, and no longer wants to be the second young master's wife. She thinks the eldest brother is better after all. So now they've set their sights on me. Standing outside the room my face turned grim. Silently I walked away. Back in my chambers I got straight to the point. "Eldest young master, do you want to become a revered god?" He suddenly broke into a grin. "Being loved by everyone must be a wonderful feeling, right?" I nodded. "Yes, everyone will like you." He gave me a deep thoughtful look. "You have a way?" I smiled. 1,000 miles south of here in a small village, there will be a flood in 3 days.